Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles, like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Recorded.
Catch the Tech Branch with Marlo Anderson
And Steve Bakken
on Super Talk 1270, Saturday afternoons 1 till 4 on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270 on a Wattage Wednesday. I'm Steve Bakken. Good morning. A little chilly out there this morning. Some fog around the areas too. So not so much in town, but if you're out traveling, some areas of some thick fog. So that should be burning off a little bit later on this morning. I want to say a big thank you to all of our listeners who made donations for the Operation Christmas Morning last Friday. Over 600 children in the Bismarck, Mandan, and Lincoln area will now have at least one present to open under the tree this Christmas morning. So a big thank you to all of our partners, including Shields, the Salvation Army, and all of our sister stations here at Town Square Media for Operation Christmas and putting in a full day. And thank you to you, the listeners, because you really made that happen, and great response helping out the kids. Speaking of kids, our big kid, the Crude Life, Jason Spies, you can catch him every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock right here on Super Talk 1270. And you actually put on your big boy pants yesterday, Jason, and you had to go speak to a board for a big company concerning ESG and social media and how all this plays together. Walk us through that, because we haven't heard a lot about ESG lately and the social media, because it's kind of morphed into, okay, is ESG really a thing, or is it kind of turned into this social media aspect? Run us through what the presentation was yesterday.
Well, sure. Good morning, first of all. Happy holidays to you and the listeners out there. And happy to hear that the community spirit is in full gear. And when we talk about ESG, we're referring to environmental social governance. And it's really a evolution from global scoring initiatives, GRIs, they were called. They were voluntary back in the 1990s. I want to say 1997, 1998 is when they started. And since then, you've had probably 15 different acronyms, from whatever, CSR, which is a corporate sustainable responsible report, and all these different acronyms have come out of, the corporate America.
Mostly it comes back to the reporting side of things. It's just, here, check a box on this report and you're done, right?
Right. And so what's happened is that you have all these different acronyms out there confusing the heck out of people.
That's the point, right?
And everybody's just checking the boxes and they're not really doing it. It's kind of like that joke when Congress puts out a bill called Save the Environment, it rips the rainforest out. Remember when that was kind of the deal when they would say something is pro, you got to look at what they're actually doing. It's actually the opposite. So that was happening with these ESG reports. And so you started having more, Greta Thunberg's coming to existence. You started having ExxonMobil proxies coming where a small percentage of people can really influence. You have Disney putting out new ESG policies, and now the shareholders are trying to figure out what to do. So ESG is really, environmental social governance, has really taken on a whole new life. The state of North Dakota has a law regarding ESG. Texas created an anti-ESG legislation, so it is a serious deal. Now, what I was explaining to this particular company, because they do international business, was that over in Europe, it's already started. So if you're a company and you are doing business in Europe, there is a very good chance they're going to ask you for your ESG report, because you are part of the supply chain. So if you're part of the supply chain and you're, say, a customer of Royal Dutch Shell, or maybe British Petroleum, or maybe one of the many banks that now have headquarters in Europe, you might be subject to an ESG report. So we went over some of the realities of where things are at with the SEC. The SEC, for example, they have an ESG task force. They're already prosecuting 2 companies. I think one is in Brazil, the other one's in Africa. You know, they have to make an example out of someone. So it's really funny that you have states and you have states and companies that are investing millions of dollars into anti-ESG policies, and at the end of the day, they're still filing an ESG report. So that tells you where we're at. Out of that ESG reporting stuff was social media side of things. And so we did go over kind of a rationale, pitfalls. We did show some slides from the Department of Commerce. We did show some slides from businesses that are abusing social media, and the eyes on some of the board members got very large, Steve. Very large.
So I have a question, though, because sometimes there's a disconnect, because going back to the ESG stuff a little bit and then the tie into social media, there's a message and then there's a practical application. And maybe we can get into some of that after the break, but I'm kind of curious, are employees and management and board members, because that's a different layer as well, are they all on the same page when it comes to...
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. In fact, I've done 3 of these classes now, specifically for higher levels. And one of the things we do is we ask for an employee survey. So we have the, kind of an employee survey done. And then we also have a board survey done separately. And not one time has their ideals and their perception matched. Grossly different, completely different. And what's interesting is that it ends up being where the board of directors, for example, their concerns are very much in line with what the media tells them to have concerns in ESG. Whereas the employees are just kind of regular, employee concerns. It hasn't changed since the 70s type thing. You know what I mean? It's, we all want more money. We all want less, that type of thing. And they were just very basic, and they're very good though, very good. But I found that very interesting because, there is an ESG narrative. There's a big ESG narrative happening. And so when you take a look at how social media is playing into this, that's a giant part of advancing any sort of communication. And so when individuals have a power of the platform of a giant company or a government or a university, that has an extraordinary responsibility to go with it, Steve. Extraordinary responsibility.
So when you're looking at trying to get the board, the upper management, the employees, because there's a certain level of buy-in that needs to take place. How do you get them all on the same page? Because I'm guessing sitting in a boardroom talking to a bunch of board members and kind of opening their eyes to what's really happening out in the real world, because boards have a tendency to go, okay, well, the message we want to convey is, but there's a practical application, which the employees are tasked with the practical application side. Some of that's untenable. Some of it's just not workable. How do you navigate that?
You put a policy in place. You have a very comprehensive, with examples, policy in place. And you hold people accountable for it. Because at the end of the day, if you have a social media page, you are a media company.
Yeah.
That's how it is. So technically right now, you and I, Steve, are private media companies that are operating under the media umbrella of Town Square Media. So we are fortunate enough to have a relationship with Town Square Media so that we can jointly try to grow their distribution. So we can jointly try to grow their revenue. So we can jointly try to grow all of that through access and information for the public. So that is a huge responsibility. So when you have like Commissioner Josh Teagan going out on social media and saying solar has no place in North Dakota, well, that's very discriminatory against people trying to invest in the solar market in North Dakota. And at the same time, is Commissioner Teagan speaking on behalf of North Dakota Commerce? Because it was at an event for North Dakota Commerce where he said solar basically has no place in North Dakota. And does the people of North Dakota agree with that? So,
part of the problem is you wind up having the government in the role of picking winners and losers. And when that happens, we all lose. Does solar have, now, whether I agree with it or not, that's not the role of that commissioner to make that statement. Does solar have a diminished role in North Dakota? More accurate. No role? Not accurate at all. So words matter. We're talking with Jason Spiess from the Crude Life when we come back more, and going to get in a little bit more on the social media side of this from his board presentation yesterday down in Minneapolis. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Don't forget you can catch the Crude Life each and every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. right here on Super Talk 1270.
On Super Talk.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bach along with Jason Spiess from the Crude Life. You can catch Jason Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. right here on Super Talk 1270. Coming up at 9:30, we're going to talk with Cal Cluin, the Theodore Roosevelt Expressway, US 85. They just received a $55 million grant. We'll find out what that means for public safety, and the goal of fully expanding that to a 4-lane road at some point. Also coming up at 10 o'clock this morning, Petro Nerds. Trisha Curtis is going to be joining us. And then, of course, 10:30, Sarah Stogner, the Unicorn Lawyer, and our private public picks coming up at 10:45. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270 on a Wattage Wednesday. So, Jason, you were down in Minneapolis speaking to a board of a major company concerning ESG. It kind of morphed into the social media side of stuff because you can't really differentiate anymore because what's being posted by the employees plays into the ESG and the DEI now and all kinds of other stuff. Pick an acronym. But social media has kind of morphed. Explain that a little bit to us.
Well, when you take a look at where most people spend their day at work or at home, and especially since
not working,
especially since remote work has taken off, they generally have their social media pages up all day. Whether they use them or not, they're up.
Yeah.
And they're active. And, they'll check in and by the way, this is no different than someone like me going and checking, scores on ESPN or Yahoo, because that's the same thing. Oh, is the new, mock draft out yet? Checking every 15 minutes to see if I can find something at work to waste time on, right? So,
well, it's kind of funny because it's a little bit in the closet still. That employers all know, but employers all know
anymore.
They know everybody's on social media. It's just they kind of go, don't do that. It's kind of like the studies we've seen on productivity when it comes to March Madness. And
what's happening,
work stops.
Is that March Madness is a great example. It's like March Madness every day on social media at the workplace, because what's happening now is that people are literally running out of gas, which is the $7.1 trillion that were printed over the last 3 years. And now people are trying to figure out where their next business is going to come from, because they're used to just getting a check from the bank and the government combined, right? That's what's been happening, is that we've been just printing money so that people can keep momentum going. Well, while that's been going on, people are on social media. Some people are legitimately trying to find work on social media because, again, that's where everybody's at. And, and I kind of walked through how the newspaper industry got taken out. And I know we only got a few minutes here, but at the end of the day, the government invested a ton of money during the 2008 and 2010, Lehman Brothers and all that, different banks that we, too big to fail, and all the different banking problems that I think we had 4 or 5 bailouts. A lot of that went into technology. And a lot of that technology went into the social media platforms. And a lot of people are on social media platforms grabbing the Bismarck Tribune story and giving it away for free. Grabbing the Town Square Media story and giving it away for free. Grabbing the Fargo Forum story and giving it away for free. So the newspapers had to go through an identity crisis. They had to figure out what they were. And now they figured out they're content producers. And that's what they really are at the end of the day. Trusted, vetted, professional content producers. And so I walked through that. And then I actually showed a slide from the Department of Commerce, Steve. And guess what guess if that was a positive or a negative slide, Steve?
I'm going to go negative on that because
it was a positive slide.
Really?
It was a positive slide.
No.
Just to show you that I can be fair, I'm going to show you how commerce is a leader in social media, which they are. Just like Lynn Helms was a leader in podcasting, okay? When he went through his vetting process and Dave Thompson from PBS ended up doing the podcast, that was the correct way to do it. I think he even went through a procurement process internally. So when commerce decides they're going to put every Friday their party picks up, their field trips they take on the state dollar, they do it through commerce. They don't do it through the individual employees. They do it through commerce. And then the individual employees who work for commerce share and like that social media post. That is how businesses should be doing it. But it's the reverse. You have employees using the business's money to go to a social media event, and then they get to post all the party pics on their social media page, and they may or may not tag the company. But the company wants to grow their social media page. They don't want to rebrand somebody's, sales calls. So we went through that, Steve. But just to show you that I am fair, I showed how commerce was doing it correctly, and it was a leader in how they should be handling the social media things. Because at the end of the day, commerce wants people on their social media page. They don't want it on the employee's page. They want it on theirs, and they're doing that correctly.
It's kind of funny just because we are up against a break here, but just on a side note, you know how I kind of tongue-in-cheek say North Dakota is going to have the lowest unemployment in the entire country because we're all going to work for the government. We're going to work for the state. So go back and look at last week's job numbers from Friday. That's actually happening, but on a federal level. The biggest increase in jobs and job numbers, government jobs.
They're knowledge workers.
They're growing government. And we've seen that here in North Dakota as a microcosm, but it's actually happening nationwide. So when everybody's getting a check from the government, not private industry, or more people from the government than private industry, we're in trouble here. Pay attention to that.
Digital money.
Digital money. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Speaking of money, $55 million to the Theodore Roosevelt Expressway for public safety concerns. Of course, Cal Cluin.
By the way, this transition, smooth as sandpaper.
Hey, we know US 85 has needed a lot of work for a long time. They put a lot of dollars into it, but that project is moving forward. We'll get the details on that coming up next on Super Talk 1270.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
without apology. The Regular Joe Show with Joe Gigante. Weekday evenings at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bike along with Jason Spees from the Crude Life. You can catch Crude Life Sunday mornings 10:30 or 10 o'clock right here Sunday mornings on Super Talk 1270. Joining us in the program, Cal Cluin, the Theodore Roosevelt Expressway. Cal, big news, and this is something I've talked about, been working on for a long time. The public safety aspect of US 85, the Theodore Roosevelt Expressway, getting that up to speed from a safety perspective. Of course, one of the big moves was replacing the Long X Bridge. There's been a lot of projects out there, but the goal, of course, is to get that corridor 4 lanes, especially through North Dakota, but all the way to ports to plains. That's kind of the mantra, Canada all the way down through Texas. So give us a little rundown. $55 million grant, where'd this come from?
That grant came out of the U.S. Department of Transportation, and it was on behalf of the North Dakota Department of Transportation submitting grant applications for different programs that the U.S. DOT provides. And the North Dakota Department of Transportation has submitted, as I said, several of them. And this is the first one we've had success with, and it was just about the full request, I believe. And we're really excited because what this will do, it'll unlock $50 million of pledge from the North Dakota legislature to move the project further south from the Long X Bridge. So this was a big boost for us to keep coming south on that project from the Long X Bridge. You're probably aware that there's 10 miles that are being done from Watford City down to the Long X Bridge. Huge project. It's not cheap to go through those breaks along that route. And that project right now that they're working on is going to be a 2-year project. 1 year is done. And it's over $7 million a mile. So you can see the expense of what this 4-lane project is comprised of.
Highway 85, it opened my eyes in, I want to say, 2014, maybe 15. I interviewed the economic development and mayor of Belle Fourche, South Dakota, and they were talking about how there was more traffic on an intersection of, I think it was 210 and 85 than down on I-90. And that was eye-opening to me about how important Highway 85 was to the entire Bakken shale play. Talk to me about how this plays into the energy sector and kind of the continued investment into whether it be the Bakken or whether it be some new carbon markets or even the wind energy that's out in western North Dakota.
Well, it's going to provide a huge safety factor and more efficient for freight movements. Highway 85 in North Dakota, and we're tracking some things in South Dakota to try to get a hold of it. And you mentioned Belle Fourche, working very closely with some city leaders down there right now to stress the importance of coming north out of Belle Fourche up to the North Dakota-South Dakota border. Hopefully the goal is that we can connect those two states. When you talk about the energy industry, whether they're oil and gas or wind or whatever, North Dakota and US 85 leads the state in all roads, including the 4-lane I-94, I-90, other than 200 right now, leads the state in oversized permitted loads. We've worked on that documentation since about 2014, as you mentioned, and it finally had some eye-openers of it was, 2 and 3 times the permitted loads, not just a regular truck. This is the pilot type vehicles, the required pilot cars, that type of thing, and it led the state, and still does, in 2 and 3 times of those permitted loads. So it's a freight issue, it's a safety issue, And one of the things that I want to point out, you mentioned Belle Fourche in South Dakota. We're working very closely with them in Rapid City. Part of my area is South Dakota. And right now we're looking at, we had a conference call, Zoom call with our congressional delegations in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana, and working on the connectivity of the Theodore-Roosevelt Expressway. And when I bring that up, the connectivity of Mount Rushmore to Medora, with Theodore-Roosevelt National Park, and now the new library coming in 2026. And then tying into Yellowstone Park. They call it the Theodore-Roosevelt Transportation Triangle. But those three venues all involve Theodore Roosevelt, and hopefully we'll be able to have the Theodore Roosevelt Expressway be a major corridor connector for tourism traffic also.
Cal, that was my next question because, you and I started talking about this probably back in 2011, and the onus on the public safety side of this goes back even further than that, prior to the oil boom, because of those other aspects. Talk a little bit about when this project started, and you mentioned the tourism aspects, but there's also the commodity aspect from an agriculture perspective, and that does run all the way from Canada down to the Gulf of Mexico. Explain that bigger picture and really the impetus of that.
Well, on the Ports to Plains aspect, which we're the Ports to Plains Alliance, which we're a member, and that's how we lobby at the federal level with the 10 states. But out of those 10 states, from Texas all the way up to North Dakota, on the ag percentage, 7 of those 10 states lead the nation in ag production, and about those same numbers with energy. So, on that corridor, we've worked with, had some discussions with the National Cattlemen's Association regarding, if you know anything about the feedlots and location of those feedlots, the Kansas, the Colorado, all the way through that corridor, there's a lot of feedlots that and require efficient travel to move those cattle into those feedlots in and out. So that's the other aspect. We're looking on a bigger picture for, efficient movement of livestock and commodities. Well,
and the other side of that, too, is the hay, because we know one year we're dry, so we're shipping hay up north, and one year we've got abundant hay crops, and we're shipping hay down south. That's a very vital corridor for the agriculture side of stuff.
Yeah, if you travel Highway 85, and I do a lot of it from North Dakota all the way through Texas, it's ironic of the commonalities of what you see along the route. And you mentioned hay, cattle pots, 4 or 5 of them at a time, depending on the time of year, pipe trucks, 2 or 3 of them, all in the same corridor going different directions. And so that's what we're kind of going after, and I think our congressional delegations have really realized that, and I know it here in North Dakota with Senator Kramer and Senator Hoeven, and also with Representative Armstrong. They've been strong supporters of trying to get this thing done in North Dakota, and we've had great luck with our North Dakota legislators supporting this. As I mentioned, that $50 million was set aside 2 bienniums ago, and we were not able to unlock that and use any of that money because it was tied to a federal grant. Well, now, guess what? We did get this federal grant presented last week, and that opens up that $50 million, and that'll move that project pretty close or to Highway 200 on Highway 85. And our goal is to get to 94 because the environmental is all taken care of all the way to I-94. And then we start going south.
Now, you mentioned ag. We've talked about energy, tourism. Is there any other areas that you're seeing as kind of a trend on Highway 85? Because we're in a really unique place because, all roads lead to somewhere. And so a lot of different, whether it be lobbyist groups or public organizations, really have to use Highway 85 for some reason or another. Is there any, trend that stands out to you, either looking into 2024 or just kind of what happened over the past year? Anything that stands out?
Now, not more than what we've visited about, other than the fact that with this new presidential library and coming into Medora and the excitement that that's going to create. And I don't know if we have the full understanding of what that may do to tourism. My wife and I, we volunteer at Theodore Roosevelt Park for the foundation during different periods in the summer. And I listened to people that traveled in there, and it was kind of ironic. I heard it several different times. Somebody would ask someone, well, how was your drive here to Medora? Well, they said, where are you from? And, well, we're from Florida, and how was your drive? Well, we didn't drive. We flew into Rapid City. We visited Mount Rushmore, and now we're here at the park. You know, and I think that's going to be a big push on the tourism level of how people come into our state on the tourism. And we know that's a growing area in North Dakota. You know, it's been really pushed, and it is growing, and we've got some excitement going on in Medora with that library.
You know, there's one other aspect of this, because you mentioned the transportation piece, where the connectivity, and we're trying to be more connected. One other aspect that looks like it's looming is the rail line, Amtrak being reinvigorated, that southern route through Montana, through Bismarck, through Medora. You know, the connectivity to that's also another piece. So another way to transport people, or goods for that matter, but mostly people from a tourism perspective, to get them to that connector route, which is US 85. Have you given any thought on how that's going to play in to possible funding or possible upgrades to US 85 if that rail line is firmed up?
That has not been in the discussions yet on the rail side of it that I'm aware of. We stay in contact on a weekly basis with our alliance, but that really hasn't been brought up. It's mainly working very hard on the surface transportation of the traveling public on highways.
All about connectivity.
I know what you're getting at, because
the tourism. It's the tourism side. So that ability to get to a place, or if you're in Montana or Fargo and getting over to 85 so you can go north and south, that's a great connector opportunity. So, Cal, if people want more information, public safety side, find out what the TR Expressway project's all about, how do they get a hold of you, or how do they go to the website?
They can just go to the website, Theodore Roosevelt Expressway Association, TRE.com, and my contact information's on there. Be happy to visit with anybody or come and give presentations regarding our efforts, and it's easy to get a hold of me. So with that, I do want to give you a personal experience when you talk about traveling 85. I live in Bowman, and I took a trip this summer. My wife and I took a trip this summer, and we decided that we were going to leave from Williston by train, so traveled from Bowman up 85 to stay in Williston, got on the train, went to Seattle, and then went up to Alaska. And that was a great trip. And that was just an example of using the train and the highway and cruise ship. So that's how people are moving, and we weren't the only ones that were doing it.
All about transportation and connectivity. Cal, thank you, my friend, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Catch you later.
Thank you. Cal Cluin calling a little bit south of Bowman this morning. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. More when we come back. I'm Steve Bach along with Jason Spees from the Crude Life on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bach along with Jason Spees from the Crude Life. You can catch Crude Life Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. right here on Super Talk 1270. The Week in Review coming up this weekend. And Jason, I'm looking forward to our next guest, Petro Nerds, Trisha Curtis. if you follow her on the social media and then the social pages, from an oil and gas perspective, and having a female's perspective and outspoken the way that she is, it's refreshing. It's extremely refreshing.
It is, and I met Tricia in 2014 at the Williston Basin Petroleum Conference, and just kind of, you know how it is. You don't necessarily hang out, but you follow each other on social media, and occasionally, like ships passing in the night. I've done her podcast, she's done my podcast and radio show, and so I'm excited to have her, come on and just kind of update us. She was in London last week doing some energy things, and she's a hustler. She's a great ambassador for the oil and gas industry. Absolutely fantastic.
It's important having different voices, and you and I have kind of bumped up against this for years, because the oil and gas industry had always been, it's like, nope, here's the script, straight as an arrow, don't vary. Everything's secretive. Everything's proprietary. Better term than secretive, proprietary. And you and I have said, but you have to be out in front of stories. You have to create the narrative. You have to have different voices, different aspects, variety, and that goes against the grain of the oil and gas industry that just wants to keep their head down, keep working, keep vanilla, and really not tell the good stories. So having other voices out there that are able to tell good stories and even tell the bad stories, because that's how solutions come up quite often, having that other voice, it's very important within the industry.
It is, and I think having a diversity of voices who can be accepting of solutions is critical for the oil and gas industry right now, because anybody can just sit and shout on a bar stool. Anybody can just throw red meat to an audience.
It's kind of like you when you're on your soapbox, right?
Right.
Sitting on the bar stool. I kind of like those, though.
But if you notice the difference between a lot of what we do with the Crude Life or any Jason Spiess handprint, we offer a solution to our soapbox.
You do, Jason. You definitely do. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
News, talk, and sports for Bismarck, Mandan. Super Talk 1270. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bakken along with Jason Spiess from the Crude Life. You can catch Crude Life Sunday mornings 10 a.m. right here on Super Talk 1270. We're waiting for Tricia Curtis from Petro Nerds to join us. But in the meantime, I want to go back and talk a little bit about the US 85 corridor, that TR Expressway. Getting roads like that built, especially for public safety, that's the role of government, Jason. Public safety, that, for me, it's fire, police, water, roads, and sewer. That's the job of government. And federal government, of course, protect the nation's borders. That's the job. Government gets out of scope sometimes. They start growing their mission creep. And that's when you see the growth of government. Going back to that comment I made from, last Friday, look at the jobs numbers. Number one space of growth, government jobs. That's not the role of government.
I'll tell you, though, that building a road is. That
absolutely.
Is the one thing that I was, I kept thinking about that as we were listening to Cal, Cal Ewan, right? It's, how do you pronounce his last name? I apologize.
Cluin.
And, US 85 is a very important artery. For me, my eyes were opened up in 2014 because we have affiliates down in Belle Fourche for the Crude Life. So we do stories involving Belle Fourche and Highway 85 and the Black Hills and Rapid City and Sundance, Wyoming, because these are affiliates we have on our radio program, the Crude Life, which you can catch on Town Square Media, Super Talk 1270, Sunday morning at 10 a.m., one of our affiliates. We even have them up in Baker, Montana, and Sydney, Montana. So, we have a big footprint with Highway 85. So we're very aware of the activity that goes there. But when Cal mentioned the U.S. President Roosevelt Library and Mount Rushmore, Steve, now we're talking about a 1-2 punch for tourism that really opens up new charters, because now you can go see Mount Rushmore, explore the Black Hills, jump in a charter, go up to the Theodore Roosevelt Park, maybe get a steak at Medora, and go and hike in the Badlands. That is an incredible offering to the United States. That's an incredible offering to Asia. That's an incredible offering to Europe. Like, if you're in Europe, you'd come over to do that. That is an unbelievable tourism opportunity for Highway 85. Not North and South Dakota. It's all Highway 85, Steve. That's how important roads are, because it opens up all that opportunity. And then pretty soon, everybody's favorite gas station, the Crow Buttes, the one that doesn't have any water. The Crow Buttes
yes,
out there outside of Belle Fourche. Between Bowman and Belle Fourche, it's like the only place you can get gas and everything like that. So it's got an outhouse, for crying out loud. It has an outhouse.
I've used that, by the way.
It's the nicest outhouse you'll ever use.
Yes, it's
got electricity. Yeah. And anyway, so during COVID, they had signs on there that because of the septic and everything else, that they had to close down the outhouse. But a lot of people do sleep there and catch a few Z's and everything. But it opens up more opportunity for businesses like that to thrive and to really create things. Bowman, for example, all of a sudden now, if you've got charters running on a regular basis via bus from the Black Hills up to the Badlands, Bowman now becomes a very thriving community. You're going to see more activity, more growth, more business opportunity in Bowman, because that will be a natural stop for all those people to get out and stretch their legs. That'll be a natural stop for all those electric vehicles that are going to need to be charged every 45 miles along Highway 85. So, Steve, this is a great investment of the tax dollar. And think about that. I complimented commerce and the tax dollar spending in one show. This is truly the season.
Wow. This is a new side of you. I'm a little taken back.
Well, a broken clock is right twice a day too, so things happen. Go ahead.
Oh, but seriously, though, I mean, if you take a look at the growth of government, and this goes back to the joke I make, and it's not a joke, it's coming to fruition about we're all going to have government jobs in some way, shape, or form, whether or not you take a look through COVID and nobody wants to work anymore. People are working from home, or they took the government check to not work. And is that the society we want? Because that's the road we're going down.
It is, but when you look at the society we're going to, it's primarily a knowledge worker society. So most government jobs are knowledge working jobs. That's why you have a growth. And did you catch Al Gore's comments, by the way? Over the last 48 hours, his comments on social media. He was talking about
the Cup 28.
He was there, and he was talking about how social media is ruining democracy. Have you seen that?
No, I did not catch that. Fill us in. So
he's talking about how social media basically has these algorithms, which I find funny listening to Al Gore say Al Gore's algorithms. So it has the algorithms built in to basically create a silo or a rabbit hole. So you start going on social media, and because of the way the algorithms are developed, you create your own rabbit hole. And then when you're down at the bottom of the rabbit hole, that's where the echo chamber is, and it's really hard to get out of it. Okay? And so what he's talking about is that, and by the way, he's correct on that. He's very correct on that. And then he goes a step further and says that, and where the problem is that society needs to have a set of rules. It needs to have a set of culture acceptances so that we know how to gauge and control and direct these types of echo chambers. And I thought to myself, well, there used to be something in Christianity. It was called the Bible. In the Muslim religion, it was the Torah or whatever. Sorry, Quran. And, you know, in religions, they had at the end of the day, the golden rule, because most religions, when you look at it, it's the same plot. There's just, you know, it's do unto others as you want done unto you. And then, you know, the 6 commandments, the 10 commandments, whatever it might be. But that's primarily what most religions are. And that's what held a society together. So when I watched Al Gore's comments about how we need to start listening to Al Gore and people like him to pull our values from so we can have a democracy, that is a scary proposition that nobody's talking about. That is extremely scary because that's where we're going, Steve. That's where, you know, the ESG is replacing religion. The idea of environmental action is replacing the Bible, because here we are, man and woman, Adam and Eve, that have destroyed the Garden of Eden or the planet, so we must atone for our sins. So it's a scary interview that not many people in the media are really talking about. It's Al Gore's discussion about social media at the COP28 conference.
So you and I have discussed the cult of climate change and how ESG and the climate change agenda is becoming a religion. And you take a look at the buy-in from younger generations that's taking place with that, because it's, call it what you will, it's grooming. Grooming those younger generations to blindly follow a political agenda. That's what it is. So it's brainwashing, and no less than that. But the bigger picture here is you've given props to commerce. You've given props to the federal government. Now you're giving props to Al Gore. Jason, it is truly the season, my friend. It is truly the season.
I think you're being very liberal on that last one. I was not giving props to Al Gore. You are more liberal than Al Gore.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry, my friend. When we come back, more with Jason Spiess from the Crude Life. Bottom of the hour, we're going to check with Sarah Stogner. Still trying to track down Tricia Curtis from Petro Nerds. She's tied up in a meeting, but if we don't get her on, we'll get her rescheduled sometime soon. Very, very insightful perspective. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Don't forget you can catch the Crude Life. Jason Spiess with his weekly wrap-up. Sunday mornings right here at 10 a.m. on Super Talk 1270.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bach along with Jason Spiess from the Crude Life. And, you know, Jason, see this how we've been talking a lot about social media. I decided, good idea on your part, Jason. Grab Andy Ani from our sister station, Hot 97. And she's a social media expert and content creator. I'm not putting any pressure on you, but you do a lot of content creating and a lot of social media stuff for the radio station. And we want to get your aspect, your take a little bit on some of the stuff we've been talking about. Jason, feel free to catch her up a little bit, and I'll let you poke some fun at Andy.
I love where this is going, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, I was curious where it was going. Actually, you paused for a half an hour after the word hot. The conversation just kind of like, okay, are we just going to keep, okay? Because I agree. And But Andy, you're out there, you deal with a lot of the youth, and how much time are people spending on social media, whether it be in their free time or at work? Because I've been trying to educate, people over 40 that it's like 80% of their day at least.
Yeah, no, I could say for myself, last night I probably spent like 4 hours just scrolling through TikTok. So I can imagine that, people younger than me, because I'm 31, people younger than me are, on it even more. So,
you forgot on purpose.
I didn't want to admit to it. No, but I see people just like, even walking through a grocery store, people are pushing their carts and they're on their phone. And I'm just like, I'm not that bad yet, but I would say it's a lot more time than me. And I couldn't give you a number right out the gate, but
it's incredible. And, there's a lot of opportunity for people out there on social media. And one of the things that Steve and I were talking about last hour, and I'm actually doing like social media classes and writing social media policies for organizations. And I was down in Minneapolis yesterday with a board of directors of a very large corporate company. And they wanted to basically be briefed on some social media abuses and et cetera, because it's costing companies like $5.5 billion a year and et cetera, et cetera. It's bleeding into mental health issues and everything else. But I'd said to him, really, if an employee has a social media account, they are technically a media company. And they all just kind of looked at me, and I said, let that sink in a little bit. Now, you work for a media company, and you have, kind of your own page. So you understand that balance. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So that is like a huge part of my day. I couldn't get rid of my social media accounts if I wanted to because of what I do for a living. So I've had to, really kind of manage my time and think, what am I going to do that's away from my phone? What am I going to do that's away from the computer? And then naturally I go sit in front of a TV. So I don't know. I don't have the answers.
Well, you consume other people's content.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Andy, is it's because you work on the content creation side of things. And we've been talking about how employees spend so much time in different aspects of their work life, being on social media and just sharing. Talk a little bit about what goes into content creation, because when you're building this brand, and you build this brand for Town Square Media, what's some of the thought process that goes in that? Because we talk about people just share, and they're sharing things for free. But when you're trying to build the brand, whether it's an ESG or an engineering company or a construction company or the commerce department, what goes into building that proper content so that you get the share?
So I do have to be a little bit thoughtful about the things that I share, because I can't just take anything I find on social media and just, put it out there for everyone to see. So I do have to kind of do a little due diligence and some research there. But as far as like the brand goes, I guess, with radio stations, it's kind of ever evolving. So, I mean, we're writing, I know they don't want to call it blogs, but we're trying to do lifestyle stuff. We're trying to do some sort of news reporting too. And it's turned into like this melting pot of different things. So
it's a hybrid.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. So as far as trying to figure out what the brand is, I don't know if we fully pinpointed that yet. It's everything that could possibly be local. So
it's funny because, and I know we're up against the clock here, but I come from publishing, and the publishing industry went through this back in 2008 to 2012 when every newspaper.
He's going through the drive-through.
Yeah, Sarah's
I was wondering
okay.
about that. That's anyway. So the newspaper industry, they went through an identity crisis. They went from being a printing company to basically being content creators, and most of the newspapers had to go bankrupt to learn that lesson. And I believe that's kind of what's happening in a lot of areas where everybody now is a content creator, and it's who can come up with the best system so that everybody can have a collective share and have a seat at the table and really have their talents shine. Because you mentioned that you just don't share anything out there. because you're trained and you have a talent for vetting these types of things. And there is a value behind that. And that almost comes with trust. So I guess this is a segue to talk to me about trust when it comes to social media, because to me, I think that's almost the number one currency right now.
Right. So, yeah, it is one of those things where it's a lot of he said, she said stuff on social media. So you do have to take everything with a grain of salt. It's just, Facebook in itself is a community of people, and you have to kind of realize that this is a lot of gossip. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just kind of filtering out the BS and trying to make sure you aren't just
That's a lot of filtering.
It is. And, then sometimes you just do some lifestyle stories and you don't always get the new stuff. But
or like you and I were talking about, 33% of people forget to brush their teeth.
Forget.
Mm-hmm. That's disgusting.
And Steve, push the overtime button, because speaking of filtered, let's take the filter off Sarah Stogner, the unicorn lawyer. She just joined the conversation. Sarah, are you there?
I am. I'm actually driving around in West Texas right now with another landowner and a guy from Bloomberg. So we are driving around looking at old crummy wells.
So
nice.
before we go to the break, Sarah, meet Andy. Andy meets Sarah.
Hi.
Andy's a 31-year-old female over on the FM side of the dial.
We're
and we were talking about content creation and social media. And Andy, last year or a couple of years ago, Sarah Stogner ran for Texas Railroad Commission and did a social media stunt where it ended up being all over national news. I think Fox maybe even had it on their Fox News. And so she became like a social media sensation. Now, Sarah, my understanding is yesterday you tried to do another social media stunt. So I want you to explain, like say 3 minutes or less to Andy what your social media stunt was. And Andy, I'd love to hear your reaction on what.
Tell you what, we are up against the break. Hold on to that. We'll come back and get that story. And because I could see Andy's wheels turning, going, "Oh, what can I do?" Because it's about content creation. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Talk lineup is on Super Talk 1270. Check out the program schedule at supertalk1270.com and on the free Super Talk 1270 app. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
I'm in a studio and I'm singing and singing in a studio. Okay, Elf reference there.
Stop.
Andy Ani from our sister station, Hot 97, and we've got Sarah Stogner, the unicorn lawyer, on us on our program, as well as Jason Spees from the Crude Life. And okay, we're going to get into this social media splash thingy that you did, Sarah, because I hadn't heard about it. So fill us in on the story.
Well, it wasn't my idea, but
the best ones never are. Yeah.
Right. I ran for Railroad Commission last time, have decided to run for district attorney now, but Hawk Dunlap, one of the oil field guys that's been helping me out here deal with all these zombie wells, decided that he was going to run as the Libertarian candidate and said, we need to do like a scary night before Christmas poem with all of the things. And so we had his kids. We took his kids out of school on Monday. He went to the Secretary of State to file his paperwork, and then he got into his Christy Craddock drag outfit. Christy Craddock is the incumbent who he's running against, and read the kids a scary story out front of the Capitol about cementing in wells, which is a really nerdy humor for technical folks of and political science people in Texas. We've had a lot of, I would say, propaganda about LGBTQ stuff and trans kids in Texas and drag queen shows. And they tried to have a bill this session to ban drag queens from reading to children. So we had Hawk in drag reading to kids a scary cement story about when we don't properly drill, complete, and operate and plug our wells. So it was a lot of fun with a Chat GPT assisted night before Christmas poem.
That could actually be a movie, and I know the producer for that. So there's a lot of kind of creepy, scary kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay, so from a social media sensational point, Andy, things like that. Traction?
No, I would think I would watch it. I mean, obviously,
you are that starved for content.
No,
wow.
No. Here's the thing. We live for the drama, is what it is. So, like, I don't know. I think it's interesting to see. I would see someone dressed up like that reading something to little children. Obviously, I would watch that. I don't know.
Apparently, Sarah, you got thumbs up from Andy.
No, I would watch it.
Well, good. Now I just got to figure out how to do a shorter version because it's over a minute and people's attention spans wane, right? I think my video was 7 seconds, so it was perfect for that short attention span and getting the algorithm to pick it back up when people watch it multiple times.
Yeah, you can get a good 20 seconds out of me, I think.
Yeah, maybe 20. Well, it's kind of like this. Okay, I'm going to date myself for a minute, but you go back to the 80s, and that was the era of one-hit wonders. And the reason those one-hit wonders, I have this theory, the reason they were one-hit wonders in a song that probably wouldn't have gotten any traction was because they were short. A 2.5-minute song on the radio left people wanting more of that song because you didn't have the opportunity to go digitally listen to something over and over and over again. 2.5 minutes, it was kind of like, why do I like that song? Or you at least gave it enough time to go, why I don't like that song as well. But you didn't get enough of it in 2.5 minutes to make that decision. So you had to listen to it over and over and over again to try to figure out whether you liked it or not. And, well, then it got spins and then it was a number one hit. And that's my theory on one-hit wonders from the 80s because they were short songs. Mm-hmm. But now, bring that fast forward, and now you've got with social media, it's about the one-hit wonder. It's that it's the quick content, the quick hitter. People aren't going to have that attention span to go listen to "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, those 8-minute album cuts aren't happening.
No,
they're all about 3.
On this, because this was actually part of our social media presentation yesterday. Because really, when you look at it, at the end of the day, whether it's a one-hit wonder or a social media post, in like 2009, I want to say I interviewed Matthew Nelson of the Nelson Twins. And if you go have some sort of ding for name dropping, we
Matthew
can go
and Gunner
that in right now.
Oh yeah.
And anyway, but what we were talking about was MySpace, how MySpace had changed social media and the music industry. And he made a comment that I still think rings true today, which is your hit song is now a commercial for your live event. And now when you take a look at what Sarah and Hawk are doing with social media, is they're making their publicity stunt or their campaign kickoff, if you will, a commercial for their campaign. And really that's what we're talking about here about social media is a lot of the content that's being created at the end of the day are commercials. Mm-hmm. They're commercials in some format to get people to either motivate to do X, Y, or Z. In the case of music, go to the live event and spend some money because that's the only place musicians make money now. So it's unless ASCAP raise their rates, which I doubt. Usually they lower them. But sorry, radio joke.
But it all comes back to the one-hit wonder. It's the short content. So, Andy, thanks for joining us this morning.
Oh yeah, you bet.
Andy Ani, our sister station Hot 97 content creator for Town Square Media. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. When we come back, more our private public picks with Sarah Stogner, Jason Spiess, and myself on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bakken along with Jason Spees for the Crude Life. You can catch Crude Life Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. right here on Super Talk 1270. We're talking with Sarah Stogner, the unicorn lawyer from down in Texas. And Sarah, Jason beat us in our picks because all those stupid, crappy picks except for one that he had a flyer on, I think he's picking the prettiest helmets or something, they all paid off.
Well, it just goes to show you, right? Like you never know.
Yeah, it's just I'm kind of intrigued. It's like, okay, what stupid picks is Jason going to make this week? They're going to pay off again. Because, I was going through the list and we all missed some of the obvious ones, like Detroit shouldn't have really probably lost that. We all got Denver. He pulled Buffalo. We all lost Miami because they had no business losing that game. You and I had Green Bay, and they had no business losing to the Giants, led by what I think it's Danny DeVito's kid as the quarterback, and my cousin Vinny is his agent. You can't make this up. But Jason hit with that one. Jason, you're lucky.
It's all about
well,
who you
good thing.
know.
Good thing he's going to be in Vegas, right?
Yeah,
that's right. It's all about who you know. That's right. I know when somebody's having troubles with their girlfriend.
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about the Vikings game because that wasn't even a game last week. That's 3-0, really.
Well, we should probably get into this week because we got some weird games this week.
Yes.
And on Thursday, we have our Amazon Prime video game, the 5-8 Chargers of Los Angeles taking on the 5-8 Raiders of Las Vegas.
I'm going Vegas.
I'm going to go Chargers on this one.
I'm going to go with the Vegas Raiders on this as Justin Herbert or Hey Bear, depending on which decade you want to pronounce the word Herbert. He's undergone season-ending surgery. So I'm going to go with the Raiders on that. And now we've got 3 Saturday games. 3 Saturday games, all on the NFL Network, perfectly spaced out like they're its own Sunday. So at noon, it's the 7-6 Vikings at the 7-6 Bengals.
I'm going to go Bengals on this one.
I'm going Cincinnati.
Going at the Minnesota Vikings with an upset. Let's go for the 3:30 NFL Network game, the 7-6 Steelers taking on the 7-6 Colts, and it's at the Colts.
I think Steelers on this one.
I'm going Indianapolis.
I'm going to go with Indianapolis as well. Carson Wentz is not there for the end of the season meltdown like previous years. All right, let's go with the 7:15 game, the 7-6 Broncos at the 9-4 Lions. That's going to be a great game.
I'm going Denver for the upset.
Now, question, I forget if you can remind me, Detroit, have they lost 3 in a row now?
I'm not sure if they've lost 3 in a row, but they did lose last week.
2 for sure.
Bears, so
they did lose 2 for sure.
That counts as 3.
Yeah,
losing to the Bears counts as 3. Yeah.
I'm going Denver as well.
I'm going to go with the Lions on this one. All right, let's go with the Sunday games. Noon kickoff. Television network, Fox radio station. Check your local affiliates. 7-6 Falcons at the 1-12 Panthers.
I think I'm going to go Panthers just for fun.
Wow. Okay, you're pulling a page out of Jason's hat. I'm going Atlanta on this one.
Got to go with Atlanta. All right, let's go with the 5-8 Bears at the 8-5 Browns.
Browns.
Cleveland, that defense at home, it's tough. And Flacco, Joe Flacco.
Flacco. We're riding the Flacco train, baby. Cleveland Browns. All right, the 6-7 Buccaneers at the 6-7 Packers.
Oh, I think the Packers have to come back from that last week. So I'm going to go Packers.
Yeah, Green Bay, definitely.
Interesting, because if we have I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. It's supposed to be nice this weekend, so the Packers' home field advantage won't matter. Let's go with the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield. All right, the 5-8 Jets at the 9-4 Dolphins. Ooh, another trap game for the Dolphins.
No, Dolphins win this one. They come back from last week.
Miami's going to come back big.
I'm going to go with the Jets with an upset. All right, the 5-8 Giants at the 6-7 Saints.
I mean, you guys know I'm always going to pull for the Saints. So who that's going to hopefully pull it off.
I'm going to go with the Saints over Danny DeVito's kid.
Not me, man. I'm going to ride the DeVito train as long as it can. It's fun. Let's go with the Giants. All right, the 7-6 Texans at the 5-8 Titans.
Texans.
I'm going Houston. They're going to bounce back.
Let's go with Houston as well. All right, the 8-5 Chiefs at the 3-10 Patriots.
Chiefs.
Chiefs in the sweep. The 10-3 49ers at the 3-10 Cardinals.
I think I'm going to go for another fun one here. Why not? I'm going to pick the Cardinals.
Wow, with the upset, that's huge. I'm going San Francisco on this one. I already wrote you down for San Francisco, so I'm going to change that now to Arizona.
I got to go with San Francisco on this one. All right, the 4-9 Commanders at the 6-7 Rams. Oh, cheapers. That's going to be a cruel game.
Yeah, they both lose? No, Rams.
I'm going Rams as well.
No, I think the Rams might score 70 points, actually. And Commanders haven't scored that all season, so let's go with the Rams. All right, we'll go with the 10-3 Cowboys at the 7-6 Bills.
Cowboys.
I'm going to go Buffalo on this one because Dallas is coming off a big win. They don't travel on the road well, and Buffalo at some point have to get it squared away. But this is the perfect trap game for the Cowboys. Buffalo.
I'm going to go with the Bills as well. All right, the 10-3 Ravens at the 8-5 Jaguars.
Jag.
Baltimore.
Jacksonville. And the final game of the week, Monday Night Football, the 10-3 Philadelphia Eagles at the 6-7 Seattle Seahawks.
Eagles.
I'm going Philadelphia as well.
I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks with the upset. And that will conclude this week's Private Public Fix. Back to you, Steve.
Jason Spees, Sarah Stogner, the Unitorn Lawyer. Of course, you can catch Jason with the Crude Life, Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. This has been Talk of the Town on a Wattage Wednesday on Super Talk 1270.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.